Okay, we're learning Pirkei Avos, that the Ashkenazis Gadol taught us three things. One of them was that you should make a sayag l'Torah, you should make a fence around the Torah, right, to protect the Torah. That's based on, let's just look at the Rambam in the first we have it there. It brings the source of this command from the Ashkenazis. There's a pasuk in the Torah which we learned yesterday. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, he was busy with the book, he's probably...
I'm done.
ועשו סייג לתורה, רוצה לומר, הגזירות והתקנות אשר הרחיקו את האדם מן העבירה, כמו שאמר, יתעלה ויקרא י"ח, ושמרתם את משמרתי. ואמרו בפירוש זה, עשו משמרתי משמרת למשמרתי.
You should guard my fences, you should guard my fences. It's not you have a fence, you know, what's it like on the Gavul, right? You have a fence, but that's not enough. You know, you have to have
somebody guarding the fence.
You have to film guarding the fence, right? That's it, the Gavul. Yeah, very good. So mishmarti. You have to, so it's the fence is one thing, but then you have to have the guard who's watching the fence. Very good. Okay, so that's a command from the Torah, and as we saw the Rashi and Chumash yesterday, that was a command to basically to make, to set up guards and protections to keep, as we sit in the Rambam, Yeharki Kesadam in the Vera, which is based on the Mishnah, first Mishnah in Brachos. So let's go down to that Mishnah there. It's about 7 into the sheet. Mishnah Brachos, right?
ממתי קוראים את שמה בערבית? בשעה שהכהנים נכנסים לאכול בתרומתם עד סוף השמרה הראשונה בדברי רבי אלעזר.
That's דברי רבי אלעזר.
וחכמים אומרים עד חצות. רבן גמליאל אומר עד שיראה עמוד השחר.
So let's just look at the Mishnah. So now we're learning the Mishnah, the first Mishnah on Brachos, because that's a example of this command of the Anshe Knesset Gadol being put into effect. That the first Mishnah in Brachos, right? This is the first Mishnah in Torah Shabbal Peh, right? The very first thing you learn in the Gemara in the Torah Shabbal Peh is Me'emosai Koranesh Shema Ba'arvish. When do you read the Kriya Shema in the evening? And that's the time the Kohanim Niknasim L'Ochel Ad So Hashmona Rishona. That's the Rabbi Elazar. The Chamim come in and they said Ad Chatzos. They shortened that time until Chatzos. Rabbi Gamliel Omer Ad Shalom Mashak. I mean, you have the whole night, right? Oh, so they have three opinions here, right? And the Chachamim making a geder, we'll see that the geder of An Katsois is, as the Mishnah will continue, is an effective way of keeping people from doing averos.
What's a getter?
A getter is a fence.
A getter is
a
fence.
saying is also a type of a fence. Right? It's a barrier. You have barriers, you have fences, guardrails, all these type of things, and different examples of protective devices to help a person be safe. You're riding on the highway, you have a guardrail, right? So that keeps the cars from going off the cliff. And I'm sure it's been effective many times, and unfortunately, maybe not so effective sometimes. So we have the Mishnah in Brachos, right? So now we have the explanation. Maisa. First, let's see the Maisa. Maisa Bob Bono.
Maisa Shabbat Banav.
That's the buddy of Rav Gamliel, right? Who held you have until, right? Olos Hashaka.
You have time.
You have until the whole night long, meaning which is really deraisa. That's the kavanah of the
ואמרו לו, לא קרינו את שמה. אמר להם, אם לא עלה על עמוד השחר, חייבים אותו, אותם. לקרוא.
Okay, so let's say, so the Rav Gamliel, whose opinion was that you have it the whole night up until Omar the Shachar, you can read Kriya Shema, right? So his sons came to him and they said, listen, the Gemara explains they came from the Beis Mishnah, they were a chasna, so they were busy being Misameach Chassan B'Kala.
And all the time they said, we have time. Yeah, we have time.
Yeah, okay, right.
We have time. Nothing to worry about.
Right. So they came and they asked their father, what should they do? It's now past Kutzais, right? And now Chazal have told us that you only have until Kutzais. The Chachamim hold that you only have until Kutzais.
What's Chatzos?
Midnight. Basically, that's the mid of night. Chatzos is like from Chetzi, the Ches Tzadi, yeah? Chetzi, the same shorish of the word Chetzi. Chetzi is half, right? So Chetzois is mid, it could be midday, or if it's Chetzois Laila, it's midnight. Chetzois Yom, it's midday.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So now they wanted to know, are they still obligated to read Shema, even though they haven't done it in terms of the Chachamim? You should know that that there's a question in Halacha that, let's say a person has a choice. He can daven with the meaning after Kutzos, after midnight, or he can daven b'yechidus before Kutzos.
What's B'Yechidus?
By himself. Yachid is a singular by himself.
Yechidus,
Yachid
okay.
is Yachid from the same one. Echad is one. Yachid is a singular, a sole singular person, or a sole singular thing. So, question halakha poskim that what's the question here? Meaning davening with the meaning is very important, right? Nevertheless, saying Kriya Shema before Katzois, as will pass like the Das of the Chachamim, Litkat Kila, is also very important. So in fact, many poskim say you should daven b'yechidus to get the Zman Kriya Shema.
That's like the halacha of Kiddush Levana. That they posek, used to be, you say you have time until the at Chameshesrei, but there's another day on because it's gonna rain and everything. You could say it right away. Once you're closer, say it. Don't wait.
And especially in the wintertime, it's going to be Motzei Shabbos is going to be after Motzei Shabbos is going to be after Yud Aleph. You shouldn't wait. Yeah, if you have a clear chance, you should do it. So the sons of Reb Gamliel, they hadn't said Kriya Shema, and it was after Chatzos, after midnight already. So they asked their father, what should they do? So they said, you have until Shalom Rishon. You have a whole night long to say, right? And we'll explain more about that. Let's continue with the Mishnah.
ולא זה בלבד, אלא כל מה שאמרו חכמים עד חצות, מצותם עד שיעלה עמוד השחר, והקטר חלבים ואיברים, מצותם עד שיעלה עמוד השחר. וכל שנה אחרים ליום אחד, מצוותו עד שיעלה עמוד השחר. עד אם כן, למה אמרו חכמים עד חצות כדי להרחיק אדם מן העבירה?
So this is all apparently an explanation of Rabbi Gamliel to his sons, meaning he said you should know not just by itself, but anything the Chachamim have said you have until Katzos. The mitzvah is really until Omer Shachar. It goes through the whole night long, and he gives several examples about eating the korbanos, right? And in Ken Lama Omru Chachamim Ad Katzos. What did the Chachamim? If you really have until Omer Shachar, why did the Chachamim tell you you have until Katzos? In order to distance a person from sin. They don't want to have people getting involved with transgressions unnecessarily. So they made a getter, they made a fence, and instead of coming into the final zone of not being able to be kind to Kriya Shema after the night is past, they said you have until midnight. Likat Kila, with the Rabbanan, you have until midnight. And that's really what you should do. Ideally you have to Mekayim the Divrei Chazal, because they're interested in saving you from
problems.
Right. And that's the whole introduction to Torah Shabbat Peh, the whole Gemara, Torah Shabbat Peh, all the Mishnayos, all the Gemaras. The whole of Torah Shabbat Peh is that Chazal want to keep us away from Avera. So that's why we have Baruch Hashem so much to learn. That's basically involved with keeping us far from any type of Avera.
It's like so Kriyat Shema. You skip that one after. do it earlier.
Yeah. Say the Shema first, then you can daven with the mini later, you can daven with the mini later. Yeah. By tefillah, there's no limit by tefillah. Yeah. In soap tefillah. So that's the tachlis. That's the whole purpose of what Chazal are teaching us. In order we should stay away from Averis. Let's see a little bit more about what goes into this. We'll see. Go back up to the second source there, Rabbeinu Yonah, the Parish Rabbeinu Yonah ala Avos. Yeah, go ahead.
פירוש יונה על אבות פרק א', ועשו סייג בתורה, בעניין שנאמר ויקרא י"ח. אבל שמעתם את משמרתי, כלומר, ועשו משמרת משמרתי, וסייג הוא דבר גדול ומשובח, ולעשות סייג וגדל מצוות. לבב יכול לקשר להם וירא את דבר השם.
So this is the Rabbeinu Yonah now is introducing a topic as follows. You have mitzvahs d'oraisa, you have mitzvahs d'Rabbanan. Now, obviously, in absolute terms, the d'oraisa is absolutely more important than the d'Rabbanan, right? But there's a certain aspect of looking at mitzvahs d'Rabbanan that give it even more importance than a d'oraisa.
More important how? What does that mean?
That's what we're going to explore. How and what aspect is a din d'Rabbanan more important than a d'oraisa? So we'll see the words in Rabbeinu Yonah in a moment, how he's going to explain this in more detail. But I'll say it basically like this. When you respect the dinim of the Rabbanan, when you respect the laws of the Rabbanan, right, the Rabbanan are acting, so to speak, as the agents of the Kodesh Baruch Hu, right? So when you're respecting the agent of the Kodesh Baruch Hu, that shows you have even more respect for Kodesh Baruch Hu than his specific commandments themselves. You know, like this: if we had a king, right, and the king commanded you to do something, so you wouldn't think twice about doing it, right? But let's say he's got some guy out in the middle of the boondocks there, right? Well, he's got a badge from the king, and he's the king's agent, right? If you listen to him, right, because he's really a nothing, right? But he's got the badge of the king,
Right.
right? But if you listen to him, right, that shows you respect the king's ability to give authority to anybody he wants.
Okay.
Right? So that shows you, it includes not only that you respect the king, but you respect his authority to give the authority to those people he wants, and you respect those people that he gives authority to because you respect the king.
Okay. I'll follow you.
Yeah. Okay, that's what Rabbeinu Yonah is basically going to explain to us.
All right.
Good.
Thank
Let's see
you.
the words inside.
דבר השם לכל המקיים את דברי חז"ל בשם סייג המצוות של תורה חביב וירא ממי שעשה המצוות לעצמה.
Let's stop here. Okay, it says like this. V'chein hamekayim es divrei Chazal. Therefore, when a person is going to fulfill the words of Chazal, meaning anything that the Chazal have told us, the Rabbanans have told us to do, she'em sayigim limits, so they are fences for the mitzvahs of the Torah. Chaviv hayira mimi she'osa mitzvah atzma. It's chaviv, it's more cherished, meaning HaKadosh Baruch Hu has more love for that person than for the person who is doing the mitzvah d'oraisa, the mitzvah min Torah. For that very reason, because obviously, you know, if you're talking about let's say a king of flesh and blood, king can't go out and manage all his personal affairs all over his medina, his kingdom. He has to have people who are his dukes and princes and military officers and police officers that have to manage his country for him, right? So if he wants that to be done, he needs that there be a respect for the people he appoints. So when you respect his appointees, the king, so to speak, has more love for that person who respects his appointees than even the person who respects him himself. Because obviously if he's listening to the king because he fears the king. You have to fear the king, because if the king, you just a blink of the eye and the person is going to be taken out and on the gallows, right? But this little guy who's just a little, he gives stamps to papers in the office, right, that you respect him, right? So he doesn't have the power of life yet, right? But you respect him for what he's doing and his agency on behalf of the king. So the king has more love for a person who respects that, because that's a more honest, a more thoughtful, a deeper appreciation for what the king is trying to do with running his kingdom. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu also, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the Rabbanan the power to make fences and to tell us what to do, right? And when we fulfill those mitzvahs that they tell us what to do, that shows that we are interested in following all the rules of the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even though he, so to speak, didn't make them himself. He gave those rules into the hands of his wise people, the sages. So it's more beloved in the eyes of the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the person who fulfills a mitzvah d'Rabbanan than a mitzvah d'Oraisa itself. Big Kiddush, very, very big Kiddush. Right over here. I'll just read that again. V'chein, therefore, right? Hamekayim es divrei Chazal, the person who fulfills the words of Chazal, shem sayegim lemitzvah shel Torah, that they are the fences for the commandments of the Torah. Chaviv hayira mimi she'osa mitzvah asmo. It's cherished more, that person who fears, from that person who does the mitzvah of the Torah itself. Why? Ki ein
עשית המצוות והוכחה ויראה כמו השומר לסייגים, שהוא נזהר נתחילה, שלא יביא לידי פשיעה.
Okay, let's look at that again.
So I give like a moksha is more important,
Yeah.
like a shuv than a mitzvah d'oraisa, like?
Yeah.
Can you say that?
In fulfilling it, meaning in fulfilling the mitzvah d'oraisa, when you fulfill a mitzvah d'oraisa, that's because, like, look, no one's gonna touch the electric fence.
Right.
No one's gonna touch the electric fence, right? But you're gonna throw rocks at the guy who's guarding the electric fence? Yeah, sure. What's wrong with that, right? Happens, right? You know, a guy he's on guard duty. He told me, look, you can't shoot back. You can't shoot back. So no one's going to touch the electric fence, right? But they'll throw rocks at the guy who's got the gun, right? So when you are careful about a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, right, and you fulfill that, that shows that you have more awe, respect for Kadosh Baruch Hu than even the commandments he actually has commanded us in the Torah itself. Slow sigs out, steal. So people are okay. Kadosh Baruch Hu is allowed to steal, so I'm not going to steal. Right? But let's say not to eat certain types of chametz, right? Not really. It's a chametz muksher. It's a chametz d'Rabbanan, right? So, it's not really chametz. It's chametz d'Rabbanan. So no, be careful not to do that, which you definitely should be, right? So you have more yira. That shows you have more respect for Kadosh Baruch Hu than if you respect the mitzvahs d'oraisa themselves.
I don't get that.
Yeah, that's a tough concept. Man.
Okay, yeah, no, the remaining one is telling you a very big chiddush.
Hashem gives us a mitzvah.
He gives you a mitzvah.
So
Don't talk lashon hara.
the ultimate respect for Hashem is to have respect for what Hashem says.
Obviously, no question about it.
So the Rabbanan is not Hashem saying it directly. It's indirect.
Right,
Because Hashem said, listen to the rabbis.
right.
So through that process, you're listening to Hashem by listening to the rabbis, but it's one step removed.
It
So
is- oh.
it should be a lower level of respect.
No, but since that's exactly the point, since it's a step removed, Meaning, these are the agents, the Chazal are the agents of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. The mitzvahs d'Rabbanan are those fences that they have established, that the agents of the Kadosh Baruch Hu have established for us. So when you respect their laws, right, that shows that you respect the ultimate, because their ultimate authority comes from the Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? So when you respect their laws, you're showing you have even more respect for the source, for the Kadosh Baruch Hu.
Why more?
Okay.
If you say something to me, and I respect that, so I'm giving you respect. If you tell him, and he tells me, and I respect it, so I'm giving you respect, but not more respect than when I listen to what you say directly.
No, because I'll tell you why, because you don't want to offend me, right? You would, and if it's a king, you don't want to upset the king. The king would take the person out to the gallows, right?
Right.
So you're driving on the along the highway, and state trooper pulls you over. Right? So the fact that you respect the state trooper, right, is one thing, right? If a federal marshal pulls you over, that shows you have also more fear of the federal government, right? But what do you feel? You feel when the state trooper pulls you over, so you feel the state government. You have to deal with the state. If a policeman pulls you, you have to deal with the city. If a state trooper pulls you, if a federal marshal pulls you over, you got to deal with the federal courts, right? Right? Because they are just an agent of the law and order, the system of law and order. And so Kadosh Baruch Hu also, he set up a certain
Okay, let's say
system of law and
I'm
order.
disrespectful to the federal marshal.
Right.
And now let's compare that to, I'm in the courtroom, the federal courtroom, and I'm disrespectful to the judge. So the disrespect to the judge is much worse than being disrespectful to the federal marshal.
Right. You'll get in a lot more trouble. When you get in a lot more trouble, if your contempt of court is a lot more, you're in more trouble than simply just wising off to the.
So in my mushal, I'm saying the federal marshal is like the rabbis, whereas the court is like Hashem.
Right. So what does that? So what does it show you? So why would you maybe be arrogant to the federal marshal, right? But you wouldn't be arrogant to the federal judge.
Okay, I see where you're going.
Yeah.
Because maybe I'll say that the federal marshal doesn't know what he's talking about.
You could say that.
But I can't say that about the judge.
You could say he doesn't have that much power. What can he really do to me? He'll give me a summons. So, but if you're disrespectful to the federal court, right? So now you're gonna have there's gonna be and if you know they put it there's an American flag in all those courts. Now why is there an American flag? They have a picture of the president. I don't know what they do. Why they have a picture of the president? Walk into when I used to walk into a post office in America. They used to have a picture of the president. Why is that? Because you should know that this post office. I want to buy a stamp, right? So why do I have to have a picture of the president in a post office, right?
Right.
Go to the American consulate.
That's a good point.
You would never, if you visit the president, you would never, throw a pen at the president. Assassination, attempted assassination, right? But if you would do a post office, throw a pen at the picture. All right, maybe why not? It's probably a crime, but. So when you're afraid of doing something against the king, right? That shows because you actually fear the king. But when you're afraid of doing something against the king's agents, that shows you're not because who are they after all? They're just the agents of the king. That shows that you fear the king, even though that it's not the king himself, right? So likewise here, that's what Ben Yonah is trying to teach us. And when we fear to transgress the fences that the Chazal, Rabbanan, and Rebbeim have taught us about and direct us about, so that shows that we're respecting their authority, which has been given to them by Kadosh Baruch Hu. And that shows you have even more fear from Kadosh Baruch Hu than if you simply just listen to the commandments of the Torah itself. Very big chiddush, but if you think about it, it's true. true. That person's level of fear and awe, respect for Kadosh Baruch Hu is gauged not on his direct, so to speak, relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, but it's based more truly on his respect for the laws of the Kadosh Baruch Hu in all their aspects and their finest details. Yeah. Right. So, ha'oisa ha'mitzvah. Did we get it right?
העושה מצווה אינו מקיים הסייג, מראה לנו כי אם ייטב בעיניו לעשות מצווה אין יראה בעיניו, ואם יפשע בעל לפרוץ פרץ ולא חש בפני היראה, הוא פורץ גדר, ישכנו נחש.
Okay, however, ha'oisa mitzvah, ve'ena b'kayim asaya.
How was the mitzvah to do a mitzvah?
Mitzvah, let's say he's doing a mitzvah d'oraisa. He's look, chametz is usher, right? From the 5th hour, Erev Pesach, right? Chazal stepped in, right? Is there hana before that, right? Eating chametz, right? Eating chametz after Kotzoytz, if I'm not mistaken, after we read the halacha. Eating chametz on Erev Pesach after Kotzoytz, it's a lav. Person gets makas for it, right? If he eats it after sunset, or let's say tzeitzah chachavim to make it vadai, it's a chorus. It's a chorus. Person eats chametz after sunset. It's suffix yom suffix laila. Okay, so it's a suffix, but look. Tzeitzah chachavim, definitely it's nighttime, so then it's not just an isser lav, it's not just an isser of makas, getting lashes, he'll get curse, right, min hashamayim. Hashem is going to directly take care of this person. But say 7-8 hours before that, Chazal stepped in, right, and they said you can't eat it from the 5th hour on, if I'm not mistaken, and you can't even get hana for you can't eat it from the 4th hour on, and you can't get hana from it from the 5th hour on. You have to have the bechira, if you sell any chametz, you have to sell it before the 5th hour, because once you've passed the 5th hour, it's not even yours to sell it anymore. So you say, what's this? Come on. Look. Nah, even Katzai, you'll be machmir till Katzai, right? This is my Korban Pesach, right? I have still another hour, look, what? I had a relative, this is going back about, 20 years or so, I had a relative that came in here at Pesach. So I think it was like 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, so after I took care of all my things in there, so I went down to the airport to meet them. Right, so they had all these restaurants there in the airport. I don't want to say all the restaurants. This one particular restaurant, that had the hector of whatever it had the hector on, and it was after Zman Mechila, and still serving comments, still like still coming, business as usual, right? Nothing to do. They didn't care.
What is machpid?
Machpid to be strict.
I thought machmir was to be strict.
So makpid is to be perhaps meticulous. If you want to separate them a little bit more.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Good question though. So, okay, what? It's an Issa D'Rabbanan, Mike, So what does it show? It shows that it's not that important. But Chazal set these things up that you're not supposed to do these things. So when you respect that, so that shows that you respect the ultimate authority of the Kadosh Baruch Hu to give authority to his agents in this world, meaning the Rabban. It shows you respect the Kadosh Baruch Hu even more. You're not simply worried about the transgression of punishment, right? Because all these things are given to us as we want to stay away from being embarrassed. Continue this tomorrow. It's a big subject. So nothing with this forbidden order is very, very, very important, very yesodistic, very fundamental.